Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about a huge problem that you see in boardrooms everywhere. Everyone agrees that innovation is absolutely vital for survival, but for some reason, very, very few companies seem to have cracked the code on how to do it consistently. So, we're going to dig into the hidden DNA of discovery and figure out what really separates the true innovators from everyone else.
And it all starts with this conflict, this disconnect that honestly keeps executives up at night. There's this maddening gap between saying you value innovation and actually building a company that can do it. Everyone nods their head and says, yep, it's the key to growth, but when it's time to actually execute, the results just fall flat.
So this leads us to the big question, the one that frames this whole conversation. With all the money, all the resources, all the brilliant people that modern companies have, why is genuine, game-changing discovery still so incredibly rare?
Well, the answer, a lot of the time, comes down to one single massive mistake. Companies try to buy it. They treat innovation like it's some product you can just add to your shopping cart. They pour millions into these fancy labs and R&D centers, thinking that if they just throw enough cash at the problem, breakthroughs will magically appear. But that is just a deep, deep misunderstanding of how discovery actually works.
Yeah, this is that classic throw money at the problem strategy. A company holds a big press conference, they announce a shiny new R&D facility, a state-of-the-art lab, and then they just wait. They wait for the magic to happen. But this whole approach treats innovation like it's just an item on a budget line, when the truth is, it's an outcome of something much, much deeper.
Okay, now this slide right here really lays out the two different philosophies. On one side, you have the old way, right? The focus is all on the budget. The method is just building fancy facilities. And the goal? A lot of times, it's just novelty, something new for the sake of being new. But now look at the flywheel way. The focus totally shifts to culture. The method becomes about nurturing mindsets, and the goal is to create real, lasting, defensible value, something a competitor can't just come along and copy. And that right there, that is the core idea of this entire explainer. Real, revolutionary discovery isn't manufactured in a sterile lab. It's grown. It's nurtured in the soil of your corporate culture. We're talking about the unspoken rules, the collective beliefs that guide how people think and act every single day they show up to work.
So if culture is the soil, then how do you actually cultivate it? Well, let's dive into this really powerful model for doing just that, the innovation value flywheel. And this isn't just some abstract theory. It's a really practical way to create this self-reinforcing momentum for discovery.
You see, the whole key to the flywheel is that every part of the culture supports every other part. The real engine for innovation isn't a department with a sign on the door. No, it's a set of interconnected mindsets that once you get them moving, build on each other's energy and create this incredible, almost unstoppable momentum.
So what are these mindsets that power the flywheel? Well, there are 4 of them, and they're all connected. It starts with visionary thinking, the ability to imagine what could be, not just settling for what is. But of course, a vision is useless without action orientation. You got to have a bias for doing, for trying things, for tinkering. That action, then, is fueled by a growth mentality, this relentless desire to learn and get better. And finally, all of that is grounded in problem fixation, a total obsession with understanding a customer's problem so deeply that you can build a truly meaningful solution.
But here's the thing, these mindsets, they can't just flourish in a vacuum. They need the right environment to grow, and that is where leadership comes in. The job of a modern leader isn't to manage innovation from a spreadsheet. It's to be an architect, a designer of the environment where innovation can actually thrive.
So what is a leader's most important job? It really boils down to this: creating genuine psychological safety. It's all about building an environment where people feel comfortable enough to throw out a crazy idea or, and this is huge, to admit they made a mistake or even question the status quo, all without being afraid they're going to get punished for it.
And here's the crucial shift. When failure stops being something you blame people for and starts being seen as data, as an opportunity to learn, everything changes. Your teams suddenly feel free to take bigger swings, to test more creative ideas. And this isn't some soft, fuzzy concept. It's a massive performance multiplier.
So just how important is this, really? I want you to think about this number. When you're trying to build a truly world-class, high-performing team, what do you think is the single most important ingredient? Well, it turns out Google was obsessed with that exact question. Their famous Project Aristotle studied hundreds of their teams to figure out what made the best ones tick. And the answer wasn't what you might expect.
Psychological safety was the #1 predictor of success. It was the foundation. It was more important than how talented individuals were, or how the team was structured, or anything else.
Okay, so this all sounds great, but how do you actually start building this kind of culture? I mean, where do you begin? The good news is the first steps are super pragmatic. They're things any leader at any level of an organization can start doing tomorrow.
It really starts with 3 personal commitments. First, you have to be deeply curious. You've got to commit to being a continuous learner. Second, you have to get out of your own echo chamber. Go out and actively build a diverse network of people who will challenge your thinking and give you fresh ideas. And third, and this is probably the most important one of all, you have to model the behavior you want to see from your team.
Because, think about it, when a leader is willing to try something new, experiment openly, and, this is the critical part, learns from the failures and shares those learnings, they send the most powerful message you possibly can. They are saying loud and clear, it is safe to try new things here.
So if there's one big thing to take away from all this, it's that discovery isn't magic. It's not some lightning bolt that strikes from the sky. It's a system. It's a machine that you have to deliberately design, build, and then carefully, constantly nurture. It's a flywheel built on a solid foundation of trust.
So, we'll leave you with one final question to think about for your own team, for your own organization. Are you building a budget, or are you building a culture? Because honestly, the answer to that question is going to determine everything about your ability to innovate.